This video is sponsored by NordVPN. Start protecting your internet experience today using code HTME at nordvpn.com/HTME. For some reason, one of our last YouTube videos seemed to strike a chord with the YouTube algorithm. So obviously, it makes some more of these videos, which is great because I want to keep pushing this project further and see what else can be done with Obsidian. And I've been able to afford a few more kilns now. After tapping into some glassblowers for some help with the last few attempts at the casting of the molten obsidian before, next I was curious what an actual glassblower could do with some obsidian, since it's a natural form of glass anyways. So I got the help of Todd Cameron of Threat Level Orange to see what he could do with it. First off, he wanted to see if he could work just a solid rock of obsidian with the use of his glassblower's glory hole, which can get a bit hotter than my kiln could. But it ended up just shattering. So next, we tried something similar to my previous attempts by grinding and then adding a little flux. Since this batch wouldn't need to be poured, I could go a little lighter on the flux and do something closer to a standard glass mix with about 65% of it still being obsidian. This allowed the obsidian mix to remain mostly black without having to add any extra impurities or dyes.
The obsidian didn't behave at all like the glass I'm used to working with. It was kind of like trying to gather soupy oatmeal at about 2,000 degrees.
Todd tried to see if it'd be possible to blow the obsidian, but the liquid glass had such an uneven consistency, he had little luck.
It proved to be nearly impossible. There were some parts that were completely liquid and some parts that were completely solid. So where it was really soupy, the air just wanted to expand out there really quickly.
Next, he gathered as much as he could and attempted to shape the obsidian into a knife, first with a handle and then attaching a blade.
The glass that I'm used to working with is formulated so that it has a pretty long window of working life, and it's very predictable, whereas this, it would go from solid to a liquid very quickly and then sort of went back to that state. I'm used to gathering out of a pot that holds about 300 pounds of glass. So even just trying to gather vertically out of essentially like a teacup in my world, that was a bit of a challenge. And of course the pot cracked. There were some parts that were completely liquid and some parts that were completely solid. And so it took a long time to sort of melt those two parts together. And being that it wasn't real consistent, it was tough to sculpt. It was a pretty good looking knife until it fell off.
Unfortunately, in his last attempt to add a little bit more detail, it got away from him and fell off the rod. He managed to pull it from the glory hole, but wasn't going to be able to straighten out or salvage it. So we cut our losses and put it in the annealer. Despite many visible cracks in it, it managed to stay together in one very droopy looking knife.
It's like a claw.
Let's give this another shot. But first, a word from our sponsor, NordVPN. The reason I originally started this series on making weapons was to be able to step back and follow through the evolution of the tools we use for self-protection. I want to gain a better understanding of not just the tool itself, but the technologies that advanced through history to make them possible. However, where a sword or a knife may have protected you in the past, in this modern life, you also need security online. And one of the leading tools to protect yourself from all this is NordVPN. By using a VPN, you add an anonymous layer to all your connections with double data, military-grade encryption. This helps prevent anyone from intercepting valuable data or figuring out personal information. Today's headlines are full of cyber attacks, hacked emails, and other security threats that can endanger not only one's career and livelihood, but also their lives. Take it from me, one of the worst things that could happen to someone is for them to steal your identity. So NordVPN is a great defense against that. Plus, it gives you access to uncensored internet when traveling to other countries and can keep you connected to location-sensitive services that aren't available everywhere. Plus, with over 62 servers worldwide, you can gain access to unique content at streaming services where different countries can receive different content. NordVPN is the only VPN getting a perfect score on PC Mag, so check them out at nordvpn.com/HTME or use code HTME and save 77% on a 3-year plan. That's less than $3 a month to add this weapon to your personal arsenal. This deal is only good till the end of August, so be sure to sign up now. Again, that's nordvpn.com/HTME or use code HTME. Back at it for another attempt. This time I upped the amount of flux a little bit more, hoping it'd be much easier to work with. So, Todd gave it another shot.
This batch was slightly easier to work with. It was a little bit more liquid, and so I was able to actually gather it on the end of a blowpipe. If we would have had more to work with, we could have possibly blown a bubble with this. Still pretty doubtful. It's sort of behaved the same way as the other Obsidian, so it's really hard to control. If we were to do it on a larger scale with a bigger pot, cook it over, a day or so versus just trying to really ramp it up to 2,000 degrees in a matter of hours, we might get a more consistent material. The thing that I found really curious was the difference in color, because apparently you guys added more flux. 5% changed it from being a really, it's almost like an amber, but it's fairly black, to this, it's almost like an emerald green. If you want to actually have an end result that looks like Obsidian, you might want to reduce the flux a little bit. But it really, to me, it was shocking that at 5% would make it go from black to this, light green, blue color. The glass I work with is cooked over in large batches over, about 24 hours, whereas the Obsidian that we cooked, we did over about 3 hours. A much smaller batch. Maybe if we tried it on a larger scale, we'd get more of a consistent end product once it's in a molten state. What we were doing, as far as I know, is totally uncharted waters as far as trying to blow Obsidian. It'd take a lot of experiments to figure it out. One thing that we haven't figured out is the annealing temperature. And I annealed this piece like I would if I were to make this piece out of glass. You can see that this piece, even at 910 degrees, it went in the oven totally straight. The blade ended up slumping in the oven, so. But not knowing how to anneal it is a big issue, because even if we got really beautiful, consistent material and I could, actually make something, that the creation process is could just be lost in that, unknownness. It was fun. I would certainly do it again. I love experimenting and trial and error.
So thanks to Todd, got to try some actual glassworking of the Obsidian, which thanks to using his expertise help, only took 2 attempts, and fortunately only got some small results and still needs some refinement. Definitely very interesting, the difference in color. This one's actually like a dead ringer for the glass bottle we made using Mississippi sand, which is really interesting. That sand was near white, and this Obsidian is black. I didn't break a kiln this time, but I did break 2 crucibles and made a mess of this base. But we're gonna keep playing around with this until I finally get something semi-functional. Quite a few people who requested a Prince Rupert drop made out of Obsidian. I asked Todd about this, and he very quickly made a Prince Rupert drop for me. Sounds like he's willing to give it a shot. Let's get some more crucibles to come in. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and check out other content we have covering a wide variety of topics. Also, if you've enjoyed these series, consider supporting us on Patreon. We are largely a fan-funded channel and depend on the support of our viewers in order to keep our series going. Thanks for watching.